Kia ora koutou, Markie here, former grizzled walrus and modern day Alistair Crowley lookalike. Hello, I want to return to the subject of ghosts, which I think I did one earlier in the week, talking about stone tapes theory and how people automatically assume that ghosts are spirits of the dead, and looking at alternative theories, which isn't necessarily an either or thing. People tend to think in either or kind of ways, but could be both. A certain explanation might lie behind a certain apparition and something different behind another. So I want to talk about this time where a ghost is a spirit of the dead. And I'm going to kind of add in the same caveat from before, that this isn't coming from any kind of belief perspective. What I like to do in these videos is explore things by looking at different theories and different commonly held beliefs, and leave you to make up your own mind. So I'm not saying any of this stuff is real. Okay, it may be, it may not be, but it's interesting. So if let's assume then, a working hypothesis, that some ghosts are spirits of the dead and some ghosts are a kind of phenomenon which is produced where images, sounds, maybe other sensations can be reproduced through some kind of pseudo recording kind of process that's natural. Okay, and let's look at the spirits of the dead. Okay, so first of all, what do we normally mean by a ghost, and when is an apparition not a ghost? So we're talking about an apparition of somebody that returns from the dead, but not traditionally strictly known as a ghost. Okay, when is a ghost not a ghost? Maybe is another way of saying this. So generally speaking, okay, the most widely held theory about ghosts being spirits of the dead is that they are what is known as earthbound spirits. Okay, so this would kind of this fits in with the belief system that we are not just our physical bodies, and that when we die, a part of us lives on. And this would also kind of fit within a lot of religious traditions that talk about where we go after death, into some form of afterlife, which is normally traditionally believed to be some kind of different realm. And we get kind of things like heaven and hell, and purgatory and limbo, and things like that, and bardo, and in different traditions. So this kind of fits neatly in with the belief that the human soul upon death goes somewhere, goes to the place that it's meant to be for whatever reason. And we won't get into that because there's lots of theories around where we go. But one of the theories is that a ghost is a spirit which for some reason has not moved on. Okay, hence the term earthbound. So stuck on the earth plane. So they're in a different dimension, if you like, but in or they're in an energy body rather than a physical body that is very close to this dimension, but kind of also kind of slightly removed, so they can kind of cross into our dimension at times, perhaps, or people who are more psychically sensitive to parallel dimension can perceive them. But they're not kind of flesh and they're not kind of solid flesh and blood people like you and I walking around. They're what's the best way to put it? Just beyond the veil between life and death, if you like, rather than having crossed over this veil and then travelled far to a place of resting or whatever it might be. They're still on earth, but in spirit form rather than physical form. I made quite hard work of explaining that, didn't I, really? Just a shame I don't do edits because I could have edited that bit out, but there we go. We don't have that level of sophistication on this channel. So, so that's the idea of an earthbound spirit. Why are they earthbound? Okay, well, again, nobody knows. You know, different theories. One is the most commonly held theory is that they don't know that they're dead, which is kind of interesting. So if you think about what death might be like, so imagine that you're in a car accident, and the car accident is fatal, but you can still see things, you can still hear things, you feel like you have a body, you feel like you are still around, and you feel like you are alive. But actually, you are, as the Cockneys say, brown bread. Okay, so, you know, you it might sound crazy kind of being dead and not knowing that you're dead, but if that's the after death experience, then it sounds quite likely that a lot of people would not know that they're dead, so that you would kind of hang around and you would try and talk to people, and you'd wonder why everyone's ignoring you. That would be the kind of the experience. So that's one theory, a very common theory. The other theory is some kind of unfinished business. It might be revenge, or it might be a very strong attachment to a place, and a desire not to move on. It might be a fear of hell or a fear of the afterlife, that you think, right, okay, I'm not going anywhere, I'm sticking here. So that's one of the theories, that the biggest theories really around ghosts is that they are earthbound spirits, and that's what we're talking about with earthbound spirits. So they are potentially entities that we can communicate with if we can find some way of crossing over that veil. Okay, and sometimes they cross over to us, and sometimes you need something like a medium, a similar video medium that would kind of reach out to them, if you like. A common theory is that ghosts, when they kind of physically manifest, either in terms of something that can being able to move things around, or touch things, or to be heard as a voice, or to make noises, maybe like knock on things and make noises, or to physically appear, that they absorb energy from the surroundings, which is one of the theories why when people experience ghostly phenomena, it often goes cold, or it's preceded by going cold, a coldness, a sudden drop in temperature. And that's how they can kind of, if you like, kind of manifest themselves more apparently to us. It's rare, there are very few kind of reportings of ghosts that just are there all the time. They seem to come and go in terms of kind of manifestation. But a medium would be able to kind of tune into them at any time, in theory. Again, all theory, this stuff. So that's ghosts. That's generally what most people are talking about when they say a ghost. But as I say, really, my whole message really is that there's potentially a lot more to this than meets the eye, and often ghostly phenomena don't meet the eye; they meet the ear or other senses. So when is a ghost not a ghost? Okay, so if you feel the presence or see or hear the voice of a long departed loved one, or if you maybe follow the kind of spiritualist traditions and belief system, and you feel that there are certain spirits that guide you. That's a big thing in kind of spiritualism, and mediums often say they have a spirit guide. That spirit is not an earthbound soul, in theory. Okay. It's all theory. That spirit is sometimes called a revenant, So that is a spirit that has moved on, that has kind of, you know, ascended and gone to, you know, what we hope is a better place. And in between realm, the Summerlands, heaven, whatever you might want to call it. And they have on some level chosen to come back. Okay, so you know, if you see your long dead, or you get the sense, maybe sometimes, I mean, this is quite common, isn't it? That, you know, someone that we know, someone that we love that's died. Sometimes we kind of have the feeling that they're around. Now that doesn't mean that they're a ghost. You know, it doesn't mean that they're an earthbound spirit. That would be quite worrying. You know, because earthbound spirits, you know, we tend to assume that they're in some degree of distress and need some help. So if you experience that, and if it's kind of, you know, something kind of nice, you know, it's a sense that they're giving you a message, or they're sending love, or you know, they kind of just want you to know that they're okay. So that's sometimes what's known as a revenant, which then that term would, you know, potentially apply to a spirit guide and to a family member or a loved one that's kind of returning. Okay, although it's more commonly applied to the former. Okay, so somebody says, you know, they saw they saw a loved one, or heard the loved ones, or had an experience of a loved one kind of coming to see them. People might say ghost. They might say, "Oh, I saw the ghost of my, you know, my mother," or what have you. But actually, ghost probably isn't the best sort of term really from that. And we're kind of, you know, we're looking at two different things. But these words, you know, there's no kind of orthodoxy. There's no, you know, ghostly. I don't know, ministry of ghostly affairs that, you know, defines all these things. So people use words in different ways, which is why, you know, sometimes I think, you know, it's a, you know, literally an ethereal subject that's difficult to grasp. But when people use different language meaning different things, you know, and two people have a conversation using maybe similar terms but with a different understanding of those terms, it just, you know, makes the whole topic even more confusing and even more nebulous, really. So yeah, so part one we looked at stone tapes. We looked at the theory that maybe ghosts are not spirits of the dead, or maybe not all ghosts are spirits of the dead. And now we're kind of saying in this video that not all spirits of the dead are ghosts, or not all returning spirits of the dead, or not all spirits of the dead that you might experience or see, feel, touch, sense. Okay, so there's loads more to talk about with this subject. I'm going to break it down into separate videos. So I'm going to talk some more about, you know, what else might people be experiencing when they say they have seen a ghost, or when they say that their house is haunted. What else could that be? Because we've just scratched the surface. You know, there's loads more theories and loads more possibilities of, you know, what could be behind those phenomena. I do get my phenomenon and phenomena mixed up, but you know what I'm trying to say here. So I hope that was helpful. I'm trying to do lots of videos at the moment, trying to do extra ones because everybody's kind of stuck at home. So I'm trying to do my bit and entertain the troops. I hope it's working. Let me know politely what you think about this video. I'll be back soon with more. I mean, I might do some other stuff before we get back to the ghosty stuff. The other thing I was thinking about doing, and I might do another short video just to mention this, is because I can't do lives at the moment, is I might invite questions, just general questions, you know, from subscribers and followers, anyone that kind of chances upon the channel. I think that could be quite good fun, really. So have a think about that if you do have a question. If it's impertinent, I won't answer it, or I'll make something up. But I'll probably do another video on that soon anyway. So, my lovelies, Rangimarie.